the grandson of Right Thought. Welcome to the School of Marvelous Light, little flock. Yesterday, I happened to be around some acquaintances and people that I have known for a long time. Some of those people of which were family members in the flesh. Well, I was around them, and they were all reminiscing about the past and childhood and memories and the family. And you know how every family has certain memories and embarrassing little stories and little inside jokes and little things that y'all banter about back and forth. Well, they were all doing that yesterday. And in the midst of doing that, one of my family members looks at me and says, "Oh yeah, this one, he was always sinister. Always walking around and doing his own thing off to himself, reading and studying stuff, and then walking back and teaching it to the rest of the family, talking about what y'all need to know is this, and always acting like he's advanced and everything." And this family member went on to do this as if it was a joke and it was funny. I didn't really react. I just stood there and let them all banter and laugh back and forth and guffaw, or whatever y'all want to call that. So, as I went on my way, I was walking up the street later on that evening, walking up the street and thought to myself, I said, this person used the word sinister and said, "You've always been that. Always been that. You've always been sinister." Do y'all understand what the word sinister means? It means especially evil, bad, wicked. You see? Especially evil. So in other words, what this family member was saying about me was that I've always been especially evil amongst the family. Wicked, up to no good, off to myself, studying weird things, and then bringing that information back to the tribe and corrupting them with it. You see? Now, this may have caused me to make a response emotional, or to say something back in response, or to start to ridicule back, or to do anything. Instead, like I said, I just kind of smiled and laughed and walked off and went on my merry way. Now, why did I decide to smile and walk off and go about my merry way? And why am I sharing this with you, little flock? It's because if you're part of the little flock, then you will endure the same thing that I just described to you. A prophet is not without honor, except in his own hometown, amongst his own kin. You see? And so on and so forth. And you also have been warned about false prophets. So members of the little flock are very leery of being deceived or caught off guard by false prophets and false stewards of the gospel. You see, wolves in sheep's clothing. The little flock is very leery of that. You see, any sheep would be very leery of wolves, correct? So he tells you to be, so you are. But you have to have the wisdom to know the difference between a false prophet and a true one. And he gave you the marks of a true prophet, a true servant of his. He told you. So that when it happens, like it happened to the grandson of Right Thought yesterday, and many other times, not just yesterday, but like when it happens to you, like it happened to me, then you'll be prepared to just smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Or as Yahusha says, when they persecute you, be glad. Count it all joy. You see? Well, let's see why we can do that. Why we can count it all joy when they say things like you're sinister and evil and bad. You see? Now the person now watch this, guy. Watch the irony of it. The person that called me sinister also is one of the members of the family that when I told them they were Israelites and not black people, that when I told them this family member looked at me and said, "Shit, Israelite? I'm an Israel Dark. That's what they said. I'm an Israel Dark. So this is the same person that said, I've been sinister my whole life. The person that calls himself an Israel Dark and not an Israelite. See the irony of it all? See how you can just sit back and smile and wave with duping delight of ignorance? The wise don't have to shame the ignorant. Yahusha didn't. You see, you just recognize it and you ask for their forgiveness. They don't know, obviously. If they knew what they were doing, how stupid they were looking, would they do it? If they knew how asinine they were with what they were doing, and how moronic it was what they were doing, if they truly knew and understood that, do you think they'd do it? Nope. So then that proved they don't know truly what they're doing, really. People understood the law of you reap what you sow. Would they do all of the sowing that they do in people's lives and in others' lives? Would they? If they really understood that you're going to reap that? No, they wouldn't. So the fact that they're ignorant of that law is proven by the fact that they do harmful things to other people. You see what I'm saying to you? Because you can't say you believe that law, that you reap what you sow and then go about hurting people. It's not going to happen. It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't go together. See that? You're doing wicked, hurtful, evil things to people and then saying, I know that law. Christ said you reap what you sow. I believe that. Are you sure you do? All right. Mark chapter 3. Let's go there real quick, little flock. Stand on our foundation stone of the word. Mark chapter 3. All right. All right. Mark chapter 3, we're going to start at verse 20. And the multitude cometh together again, so that they could not so much as eat bread. So there was a multitude around Yahushua because he was healing people and doing all kinds of things. So they gathered unto him, you see. And when his friends heard of it, you see what I'm saying there, little flock, right there? Let's ding, ding, ding on that real quick. Let's put our attention on that right there so we can swallow that completely and digest and become a part of our being. And what is that? That it said his friends heard of it. So now this is going to help you to not be deceived in the world. Knowing where the attacks will come from. Knowing where they will come from. Remember what Christ said where the enemies will be? Okay, let's see. It says the friends. Now, what did I tell you I was around yesterday? People that were so-called friends of mine, grew up with me, been around me my whole life. You see that there? When his friends heard of it, they went out to lay hold on him. Now, I'm going to ask you, little flock, what do you think that means to lay hold on him? What does it mean? They went out to lay hold of him. All right, we'll help you understand what it means for those who ain't quite up to par with the definition. Lay hold of means to bring under your subjection. You see? As you would say, to bring somebody to their senses. All right? To bring under your subjection. You have an idea. You think somebody's going outside of that idea. So you go to get them straight and bring them back under your idea. You see? This is the way it goes, Yahusha. You're talking about some new stuff we don't think is right. So let's bring you back. This is the way it goes, right? That's lay hold of him. You see that? They went out to lay hold. Now, who went to lay hold, it said? His friends. And they went out to lay hold on him, for they said, he is beside himself. What does it mean to be beside yourself? Out of your mind. You see? Not able to be brought under subjection. You see? A form of like rebellious. You see what I'm trying to say to you? It's the bad child of the wicked world. See, the good world has a bad seed, and it's easy to see the bad seed in the good world. It's the one doing all the wickedness, the one stealing, killing, destroying, lying. So you can see the bad seed. So the bad seed of the wicked world would be someone who tells the truth, someone who makes alive and doesn't kill. You see, that's the bad seed. Now, let's see if they're treating him like he's the bad seed. For they said, he is beside himself. And the scribes, which came down from Jerusalem, said, he hath Beelzebub. Now, so he's beside himself, and he has Beelzebub. You hear that there? Y'all understand Beelzebub, correct? And by the prince of the devils cast he out devils. That's how he's doing what he's doing, by the prince of the devils. And he called them unto him and said unto them in parables, how can Satan cast out Satan? For if a kingdom be divided against itself, that kingdom cannot stand. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. You see that there? You see that? So they said he had Beelzebub. The one you say you serve. This is what they said about him. His friends and the religious leaders. So that today would be church folk and the people that know you. When they see you being like Christ, they're going to treat you like those same people of his day treated him. And how did they treat him? Now, you may not think that that's how you'll be treated, but the false prophets were treated well. So if you're looking to be treated well, you're looking to be treated like a false prophet. You see what I mean about why you'll be sitting back with the duping delight, just smiling when somebody mistreats you because you understand why they got to do it? You called yourself an Israel dark, and now you're trying to rail me about being dark. Makes sense to me that you would call me evil. If you called yourself evil, makes sense you would call me evil. Because this world calls evil good and good evil. So it makes sense. See what I'm saying? You're just calling me what you are. It's called projection. Now, this carnal world, is that one of the tactics that they use against you as the elect? Is projection of their own filth? Yes. That's what they used against Yahusha. So then why wouldn't they use it against you? Now, we're going to get precepts about that point right there. If they used it on him, why wouldn't they use it on you? You see? Now, he says, house divided can't stand. So I don't know why y'all saying I got Satan and Beelzebub. Can't be. You see? He says, all sins, verse 28, all sins shall be forgiven unto the sons of men. And blasphemies wherewithsoever they shall blaspheme. But he that shall blaspheme against the Holy Ghost hath never forgiveness, but is in danger of eternal damnation. And then it clarifies in the next verse, because they said he hath an unclean spirit. See, that's blasphemy of the Holy Ghost. It's saying that someone who is speaking from the power of the Holy Ghost is unclean. You can't be forgiven for that because you're calling God a devil. You're calling God unclean. Because where does that spirit that's speaking through that man come from? The Spirit of the Father, which dwelleth in you, will speak, Christ said. So then if you're calling that spirit that's speaking out of me Beelzebub and the devil and lying and deceit, then you can't be forgiven for saying that about God. You see that there? Now, let's see what happens next. He says, because they said he hath an unclean spirit. Watch this. There came then his brethren and his mother, and standing without, sent unto him, calling him. So now not only his friends came, but now his family members. Do you see what I said about you guys about me last night? You see what I'm saying, you guys? You see? All right, now I just happened to be walking by this real quick, so I'm just going to show you guys how all is vanity in this world. This sign right here, Henry Ford House. Y'all all know who Henry Ford is, right? I'm sure a couple of y'all watching this video probably may even drive a Ford, right? This is his house, y'all. Henry and Clara Ford lived here from 1908 to 1915. You see that? Lived where? They lived right there. Now, why did I show you all that? Because do you see how close that is to all the desolation that I'm walking by every time I make a video? Do you see how close that is to all the desolation? All those abandoned buildings are right on this same street I'm walking on right now as Henry Ford's old house. And I'm sure when you guys see my videos, you guys are seeing like at least 10 abandoned buildings on the same street. And not little houses that are abandoned. I mean big old buildings, schools and hospitals that are completely abandoned. You see that? Look like Henry Ford house over there is abandoned too. But back to my point here. All right, so now his family comes. They said, man, Christ out here tripping, man. Go get your boy. See? And let's see. And the multitude said to him, behold, thy mother and thy brethren without seek for thee. And he answered them, saying, who is my mother and my brethren? And he looked round about on them which sat about him, and said, behold, my mother and brethren, exclamation point. For whosoever should do the will of God, the same is my brother and my sister and my mother. True family. Do you understand that today? Not the false family that lies on you. How could that be your family if they're telling lies about you, calling you sinister and evil when all you're doing is telling them the truth, calling you Beelzebub and a devil? How could those be your Jews, your tribesmen, your friends, your mother, and they're calling you crazy and out of your mind? Oh, y'all see the irony of it? Like I keep trying to tell you here. You see? All right. Let's go to the book of John real quick. John chapter 10. So we see his friends and his mother and brothers and family members said he's beside himself. We need to go talk to him. He's tripping. He got a devil. Beelzebub. You'll see. John chapter 10, verse 19. And there was a division, therefore, again among the Jews. See, not just any old people. Among the Jews for these sayings. And many of them said, many of who? Many of the Jews said about Yahusha, he hath a devil and is mad. Why hear ye him? He has a devil and is mad. Why hear ye him? That word mad comes from the Greek, mainomai, where we get our word maniac. You see that there? Mainomai means a raving mad, to speak as a madman. You hear that today? To rave. Full of inner rage and fury. Isn't that interesting that that's what the word they're using to describe Yahusha? He speaks like somebody who's full of inner rage. You see how they always tell about the grandson? You see why it's like that now? Grandson, you're mean. Grandson, you're harsh. Grandson, you sound like you're angry when you're talking. In other words, grandson, you sound like a raving madman. Y'all see why? Because I'm like my daddy. Ain't it easy to be understood when you can just read it right off the page and see? Wait a minute, they called Christ a raving madman. So if they called him that, then what would they call somebody who's really following Yahusha? Wouldn't that be a compliment to be called a raving madman like Yahusha, which would prove you look like him? Wouldn't it be? It would be. See, they called him evil. So then if you call me sinister, especially evil, then I take it as a compliment. That's why I smiled and sat back like he told me to do. You see there? All right. Mainomai, madman. You see? Let's see. Why hear ye him? See, why even listen to this nigga? He crazy. He's mad. He's a fool. He's angry as hell. So there's no need in listening to him. Ain't that what they said? Others said, these are not the words of him that has a devil. Can a devil open the eyes of the blind? You see that there? Now, go to Matthew chapter 10. Okay, before we end this message. Go to Matthew chapter 10. Now, remember I told you about Henry Ford's house? In case you guys think that I had to walk a very far way to get to another abandoned building, let's take a look here and see. What do we see? Wow. So do you think it looked like this when Henry Ford was building his house over there and living over here and making all of that money he was making? And they got Ford Field right downtown, so you know they got some money. But what happened to your neighborhood here? Back to the message. Matthew chapter 10, verse 24. The disciple, the branch, is not above his master, the true vine, nor the servant above his Lord. It is enough for the disciple that he be as his master. So he says, good enough that you be as him. Okay? Now we just read some things that they said about him. Devil, Beelzebub, unclean, madman, raving, angry. Right? That's what they said. Now some believed, but there was division. Some said he wasn't clean. He was unclean. You see that there? Now he says, this is good enough for you to be equal treated like I was. That's the way he was treated. So then if you were treated equally like that, then that's a good thing, you see? Because watch what he says next. He says, if they have called the master of the house Beelzebub, which we just read that they did say it. See? So Yahushua's just talking here. He says, if they have called me Beelzebub, how much more shall they call them of his household, which are the disciples, like he said. If they did this to me, how much more shall they do it to you? You see? So if I read that his family members called him crazy and wicked and evil and raving mad and out of his mind, then why would I be shocked if my family member said that about me? If I'm like Yahushua, I wouldn't be shocked. That's why he says, don't be shocked. Marvel not. When they do this, when they do this, when they do this, when they do this, and all that he says, none of that is happy, glad, joyful things. Is it? Nope. But he tells you to be happy, glad, and joyful. See? How much more shall they call them of his household? For them, feared them not, therefore, for there is nothing covered that shall not be revealed, and hid that shall not be known. So he says, what you truly are will be revealed. It doesn't matter that they called you that. Just like Yahushua was revealed for what he truly was, even though they called him a devil. They put crown of thorn on his head, on his head, called him a liar, said they bore false witness on him. They crucified him. They did all kind of wickedness to him. And they still couldn't stop him from being revealed as what he truly was. The truth. You see that there? That's why he says don't fear them. Because he knows how they're going to act. Calling you evil, hateful towards you. See? Let's see. Matthew chapter 10, verse 34. Okay? Gonna jump ahead. Think not that I am come to send peace on earth. I came not to send peace, but a sword. For I am come to set a man at variance against his father, and the daughter against her mother, and the daughter-in-law against her mother-in-law. And a man's foes shall be they of his own household. He that loves his father more than me is not worthy of me, and he that loveth son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. He that taketh not his cross and followeth after me is not worthy of me. All right then. So did you see that today? So what he's saying is, if you love them more than me, then you're not worthy of me. What it means is, when they tell you a lie, when they tell you you're evil, do you believe them when they tell you that? Or do you believe what Yahushua said about you? You are peculiar people. You are holy. I love you. You are above all people that are upon the face of the earth. Do you believe God's word, or do you believe what your sister's word that says you're sinister, you're wicked, you're evil? Do you believe your aunt's word that says that you're lazy, you're no good, you're no account? Do you believe your father's word who said you never be nothing, you never amount to shit? What do you believe? Or do you believe what God said? That's loving him more than them. That's what it means. You see that there? Putting him above them means putting his word above theirs. That's what it truly means. See that today? So I hope that you guys can receive this message today and not fear, not be stressed out, not be sad, downcast, or any of that when you're told things like you're evil or you're wicked or God doesn't love you. You're tripping. You're mad. You're angry. When you can compare it to what happened to Yahushua and it's the exact same thing, then you definitely shouldn't feel bad. And it should make it clear to you who really knows Yahushua and follows him and who don't know him and who don't follow him. Because many people say they follow him just like he said. He gonna say, I never know you. I never knew you. See what I'm saying to you? I know you by your experience, your stripes. Have you suffered like with me in like fashion as me? Well, no. Well, then you won't reign with me. So those that say they know him, of course they know him if they've suffered like fashion than him. Then they truly know him. They truly know his love in the face of being hated, ridiculed, because now you've experienced it. See, it's easy for a man to suffer for wrongdoing, but to suffer when he has done nothing wrong and to still suffer and not sin, that's true righteousness. So be like Yahushua today and laugh in the face of danger like the Lion King of Judah. Silawam Israel.